Welcome into Dadsplain with me, the Unhinged Father, a weekly show where we take a moderately unhinged look at life, love, parenting, finances, mental health, and any other topic that my chaotic mind comes up with. I don't pull any punches, and if you were looking for a cute, well-mannered dad giving you friendly advice on how to change a diaper, then you are definitely in the wrong fucking place. If you were looking for someone to give it to you straight, then welcome in. Let's have some fun. This week I wanted to touch upon a subject that I've been seeing a lot more of, especially on social media. This is the double standard that exists between men and women, between moms and dads, especially with the way that society views them and treats them. What you would typically see on social media, a video that someone's posting to be funny would be a video of a mom walking through a grocery store, for example, with her child, and she's looking at her phone. The society members or people in the store are looking at her and judging her, saying that she's an unattentive mom and that she is not paying attention to her children. How could she be doing what she's doing? And then the dad walks through, and to this, she literally doing the exact same thing, but everyone is saying, oh, what a great father. He's so attentive, taking care of his kids. He's so involved. I definitely see this double standard, and I want to acknowledge first off that it's definitely a standard that's out there. Society has definitely created this double standard where they hold moms to a much higher standard. They will look at a mom, and if she's doing what a mom is supposed to do, they're nitpicking every little thing. While as with the dad, it's almost like the expectation is not there for them to be a parent. They just need to be somewhere around. If they're just involved in any minuscule thing, they're considered a great dad. And this is just something I want to do on the first end before we dive into this. Really acknowledge that I understand that this societal double standard does exist, and it's shitty. Now, what I'm not a huge fan of is a lot of times these videos come with the animosity of, typically it's the moms who have the animosity towards what society is pushing, and they feel overwhelmed, like they can't do anything right, and that they're just held to such a high standard when it comes to taking care of the children. And like I said before, that's all valid. What I've been seeing lately, though, is almost like a pitting against of the mom and the dad, which I think can definitely be extremely detrimental to the relationship in general. The mom and the dad are supposed to be partners, and the dad should be held to a higher standard as well. I don't like to see, especially if there is a dad who is involved, them being lumped in with the rest of what society is basically pushing. I think that times have changed, at least within our family. I know that I'm always telling my wife that I'm not your grandma's husband or a husband from the 1920s, 1940s, even the 1960s. I'm not in the waiting room while you're giving birth, smoking a cigar with all of my guy friends, drinking whiskey, just waiting for you to give birth. I'm an involved father. I try my best to be the best that I can be. And I know that there are a lot of dads out there just like me that are pushing to try and be the best that they can be. In our family, I know that we get I will get a lot of compliments basically from grandma and mom, and they go into these kind of spiels about how, my wife has it so good, or women nowadays have it so good, because back in their days, the husbands didn't take care of the children at all. She couldn't remember, a dad changing a diaper or giving a bottle or putting the kids to bed or giving the kids a bath. Like, those were things that just the dad didn't do. And nowadays, that's something that I'm completely involved within. And like I said, when I speak about myself, I know that there are other dads out there just like me that are involved with their children's lives. So I always kind of push back on those words and deflect that compliment and say that, well, it just sounds like you guys had really shitty standards back then, and that I'm not doing anything special. I'm just being a dad. This brings me to a point of, is it that women nowadays, not every woman, but a woman who has a father who is involved within the children's life, do they have it good, or did the people in the past just put up with way too much shit and not ask enough from their dads? going back to the example of the mom in the store and the dad in the store and the double standard that exists between them in terms of society, when I look at that and when I see that being pushed nowadays, what I typically see, especially, like I said, social media, Instagram posts, TikTok, whatever the fuck it is, it's usually, to me, it seems like it's let's lower the standard for women. Like women are held to too high of a standard. And although I do agree with the fact that there is a double standard there, I don't think that we should be reducing the standard down to the lowest common denominator. I think that the solution to this is that we should be holding dads to a higher standard. Dads are not just like a supplemental parent. Dads are an essential part of a child's life, and they need to be there. They need to be involved. They can help make the next generation so much better just by being involved, being a dad, and not just kind of skirting their responsibility. My least favorite phrase that I hear sometimes is when people say like, oh, dad's babysitting the kids. And it's like, no, you're not fucking babysitting the kids. You are their father. You don't babysit. Like, unless you have some other kids coming to your house and you're watching them for the night, then you're not babysitting. You were just being a dad. And this is kind of a challenge to the dads out there. Be better dads. Be better dads for your sake, for your family's sake, for the sake of society's future. We need to have good dads out there. And that doesn't necessarily mean that dads need to become like, don't do all of the responsibilities that a mom would do, or don't try and completely change, aspects of yourself. Like I'm still kind of an asshole and can be abrasive, and I have all of the other things that have made me who I am. But I try to be really mindful especially when I'm around my kids, and I view our marriage, our family as a partnership. And sometimes I need to pick up more slack. Sometimes my wife is going to do more. And that partnership is a give and take. And by saying be a better dad, that doesn't necessarily mean you need to change who you are. Your kids need your personality as well. They need your input. They need to become well-rounded individuals, and a dad is an essential component to that. And now that I've told all the dads out there to essentially step their game up and stop being lazy dicks, I've definitely got a little bit of a message for the mothers as well out there. First off, like I've said before, I'm trying to validate both sides of this thing, right? I do think that two things can be true at the same time. I know that it's hard, and I know that your husband could be a dipshit and lazy and stupid and all the other things that we are. I know that we aren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, that's for sure. But I also want you to realize that there are other things besides just us that are contributing to that anger that you may have, or that resentment. And your husband isn't your dad. It's not your grandpa, not your brother, not any of those other men within your life that you already have this context around. Your husband is someone that's completely different. And hopefully, if you chose correctly, it's a partner, someone who's there to make you the best that you can be, someone that's there to support you, to love you, to catch you when you fall, all of the things that you'd look for in a true partner. If you're in a healthy relationship, in a good marriage, the underlying fact should be that both of you are working hard. This life is difficult already. You throw kids into the mix and it's just fucking chaos. And both of you are probably running around like chickens with your heads cut off. That should be the underlying message, or the underlying feeling, is that both of you are working hard and giving each other the benefit of the doubt. And as many of us know, having a family is super complex. The needs are always changing. With children, their emotional state, or their psychological development, and their physical development, it's always in a state of flux. There's never a time where they're not growing, they're not changing. So things are always changing within this already chaotic environment. Soon enough, you've got football practice, baseball practice, piano lessons, school. They want to hang out with their friends. There's fucking sleepovers. They need the newest toy, Christmas, Halloween, all of that stuff. And on top of this, you're trying to make sure that your house doesn't look like a fucking pigsty as well. So all of these things definitely create this environment of chaos. And as hard as you try to control it, I don't care who you are. Even if you're Kim Kardashian and you've got millions of dollars and all of the AIDS in the world, right? Family is complex. It is tough. It's hard. And there's no reason to try and make it any harder than it already is. You need to try and be as flexible as you possibly can and constantly look towards way where you can be more efficient and don't get too caught up in all of it. I've noticed this with just myself and trying to be more efficient, more time management, trying to make sure everything's clean. When you do that, you miss your kids. Your kids get lost in the efficiency and their emotions and the time you spend with them. So try not to get too lost in that. I know that that's difficult to say because you also don't want to live in a pigsty, but take some time, look at your kids, play with them, even if the dishes aren't done or there's toys all over the floor. If your kid's asking you to play with them, just take the time, be with them. It's invaluable to them. And at the end of the day, there's no reason to put additional pressure on yourself or your spouse, whether you're the husband or the mother or whatever. If there's any other different type of relationships out there, you do your best, try your hardest, continually look to do what you can to contribute to the family, and realize sometimes you're going to have to take on lion's share of the load, and other times your partner's going to have to take on that load, and that's okay. That's a good thing. That's how partnerships work. Now, I'm not someone to sit here and clutch my pearls, and I don't want this to come off like that. I definitely think that there's room in all of this for humor as well. Moms should be able to make fun of dads without them, getting their panties in a bunch and getting all pissed off and complaining about how, they work hard too. What I really don't like seeing, though, is just some of the true negativity that's seeping in. And it's really difficult, no matter who you are, if you're constantly being bombarded on social media or the internet with just this message of dad suck, dad suck, dad suck, you're doing more, you're doing more, you're doing more, they don't do anything. It's really hard. It doesn't matter how mentally strong you are to resist that resentment. That message is going to eventually find its way in. It's going to seep into your marriage, and it's going to create this resentment that's just going to be like a seed of negativity that continues to fester and grow and cause issues. And so, like I said, humor is okay. Poking fun at each other is okay. I obviously come at a lot of things from a humorous perspective. It's just trying to not let that negativity truly seep in deeply into your marriage. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into my little unhinged rant here today, which is kind of funny because the name of the show is Dadsplain, which I obviously use in a humorous way. But today what I'm going to be talking about is the word mansplaining, which is just, I get it. I understand where it came from, but it is just used so much nowadays, and it just is very annoying at some points. And I get it. Maybe I'm sitting here and getting pissed off about nothing, but if I come in and have an opinion about something and try to express that, just because I'm expressing my opinion or saying how to do something, that doesn't mean that I'm mansplaining something. It could just be that I'm fucking explaining it to you, right? If I come in and something's wrong with the toilet or there's like a leaky faucet or something, I can say, oh, it looks like that's what's wrong with it. That doesn't mean that I'm sitting there and mansplaining it to you. I'm not sitting there and thinking like, oh my gosh, I am a man. I am so superior to this other person. Let me enlighten them with, my glorious knowledge. No, I'm not fucking doing that. All I'm just saying is that there's a leaky faucet and this is the reason why. I know that this is, probably a hot button topic, and I'm complaining from a point of privilege or whatever it may be. But I've just noticed it within my life. Anytime I have something to where I'm trying to explain something to someone, or I'm giving some advice, it's like, well, I don't need you to mansplain that to me. Okay, fine. I won't fucking mansplain it to you. Let me just tell you how it is. Let me give you some facts, some knowledge. I am someone who has information as well, and I can share that information without being a contentious prick about it. Now, do I always share that information without being a pretentious prick? No, because I'm awesome and I know everything. So obviously I'm going to sit there and mansplain shit to you if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. But yeah, just something kind of small that isn't really a big deal, but as I said before, it kind of falls in line with this whole double standard between men and women, is that as it continues to be more pervasive and used more commonly within social media and the internet, I just feel like it's seeping into every aspect of your life to where you can use it in the most, you could just give the smallest amount of advice or truly be trying to help someone. And they're just constantly hearing that anytime a man gives you advice, they're just trying to mansplain that to you. No. Sometimes men are trying to mansplain stuff. There are dicks out there. Don't get me wrong. I know plenty of them in my life that are mansplain assholes. I get it. But that doesn't mean that everyone falls into that line, that category. And by treating everyone like that, you could potentially be missing out on either a good relationship or even just good information, because you're just completely tossing it aside because it's mansplaining instead of an explanation. And that'll do it for this week's episode. Before I close up here, I did definitely want to give another book recommendation. I definitely think that each week I'm going to be trying to give a book recommendation, just because reading has become such a big part of my life. And I definitely think that getting good information in is important in expanding your mind view and learning new things. So this week, kind of in line with the whole dad standard, I'm recommending, it's a book by Ryan Holiday. It's actually like a daily devotional or daily meditation. It's called The Daily Dad. And each day he'll open it up with like a subject or a quote and then kind of go in different things. It's not just about being a dad. The way it's described is meditations on parenting, love, and raising great kids. I definitely enjoy it. There's some great snippets in there, and I think that it's a great read for anyone who is a dad, looking to become a dad, even the moms out there. There's definitely good information in there just for parents in general or people who want to be parents. So highly recommend it. It's a good one. I'm almost at the end of the year, and I really enjoy it. That being said, I hope that you really enjoyed this episode and got some insight out of it, or, at the very least, just totally hate me now for my unpopular opinion on mansplaining and the double standard between moms and dads. If you enjoyed this episode, definitely give me a follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Give me a 5-star review if you like it. Also, you can check out the Instagram page as well. Post that within the show notes. As always, if you have any suggestions, any feedback, shoot me an email at theunhinged.father@gmail.com. I'm always looking for, especially in this infancy stage of the podcast, just any feedback that you have, any changes that I can make, and any subjects that you'd like me to speak upon, anything that you think that would be interesting to get my perspective on, even though, like I've said before, who the fuck am I? Why should you care? I'm literally no one, just a dad in his office talking to a microphone. Also, if you enjoy this content and you think that there's someone else out there that may enjoy it or could benefit from it, share it with them. Shoot them the podcast page, shoot them the Instagram page, whatever you feel is appropriate. I truly do appreciate you sharing that with them. Like I said, this is just a creative outlet for me at this point in time. But if there is anything within this, just any small snippet that could help someone today, tomorrow, in the future, I definitely want to make sure that they hear that. So other than that, have a great rest of the day. Have a great week. Be good. Try hard. Do your best.